Hey, Pek here, and I wanted to reply to Hamumu. He said that he doesn't feel like focusing on specific, like sort of pushing on the boundaries of what you can do as a programmer or as an artist. Is he doesn't feel that's important because he's a game designer, and I can kind of agree with that. I mean, my point mostly was that you should be sort of pushing your own craft. And I mean, if you feel like you're the game designer, if that's your passion, then certainly you should focus on that and push the boundaries of what you can do with game design instead of like thinking about like, okay, how can I do like this really cool algorithm here. But I mean, I think most of us work alone or in very small teams. So I mean, I do think it helps at least someone to sort of try to hone your skills in sort of all aspects of game development. But then again, I guess if your goals are further along in like working with a team and stuff like that, then that's probably not going to be all that important in the long term, and you'll probably get better results focusing on just one thing. I know I have a problem with just like a lack of focus. Really, I mean, I would really like to do sort of everything, but the truth, of course, is that I probably won't be able to do everything in my lifetime, and that's just the way it is. Also about Max, Hamumu was saying that he's wondering if he should get a Mac. Uh, After doing Tiny Hawk, I was using a Marmalade SDK, which does allow me to develop on Windows, uh, much like uh, much like Andy's solution of using Flash and Adobe Air, and that is a workable solution, but it's a little bit awkward, I think, because I always have to be copying my files over via iTunes, and iTunes is a piece of shit, and it's just a little bit of a hassle to do that, and basically, uh, one major thing that I'm lacking there is I can't really debug on the device, and I don't have really like a fully featured simulator either. So a specific thing I ran into is that I wanted to add Game Center functionality to my game, and so I wrote the code, and there's a API in Marmalade for that, and so then I tried to run it in the simulator, and it would say that okay, this module is not available, which kind of makes sense, I guess. They haven't been able to simulate it on the PC side. I don't know how that is if you're working in Xcode or something. I would assume that you could use it uh, on your Mac, but I'm not actually sure about that. Anyways, so I made a device build. I put it on my iPod Touch and discovered that the game freezes. And at that point, I felt, okay, so I gotta debug this. How? And I was thinking, well, I could start like putting stuff where things like putting stuff on the screen in different places and like updating the screen so that it says a different thing depending on which phase of the debugging I am on. And that just really rubbed me the wrong way, and I pretty much, well, I did actually figure out what was wrong with that. Apparently, Marmalade SDK disabled the functionality for older devices like what I have, and I think what I could have actually done is to use the iPhone configuration utility to get like a trace output. With my point, I guess, is that like the tools for developing on Windows are not really as good as you might get on a Mac. So I mean, that's really, I guess, the point that I'm making about that. To continue on to the points about using the Hex language, is that of course you can't really compile for a Mac with Hex. I mean, for iOS with Hex, unless you're on a Mac. You could use a virtual machine for that, and that would probably work just fine. At least if you're able to do most of your development locally without the device. That of course depends on what sort of game you're making. If you're making something that's really dependent on gestures or accelerometer, those things, the motion sensors, then you're if you're doing something like that, you will probably want to test on device. If you have an Android device, maybe you could test it first on Android, then try using the VM to make the iOS version later, and or you could use Adobe Air, and I'm pretty sure you could automate it just as fine, just as well as you can with just ActionScript 3 stuff. I don't really see that as a big deal for Haxe, or a big downside for Haxe, because it's pretty much the same as if you were doing it in ActionScript. Although I mean, I'm kind of beginning to feel that I should have a Mac, but maybe I should delve into trying to use the virtual machine for more than just uploading the files. So I might try something like that before I actually buy a Mac. And I'm not sure if Andy meant it as a specific example that there's no Game Center support for Haxe, but I googled a little bit and I found a library called NMEX, NMEX, and that actually has a bunch of extensions for iOS and Android, including Game Center support and some ad stuff and in-app purchases, stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure that's a solved problem, but I have not actually used that. So take that for what it's worth, I guess. I'm already at 7 minutes. I'm not sure what to say about Mike K's post. He was rambling on about a lot of stuff. I do think making exciting games is a good goal. It's kind of a vague goal, so I'm not really sure what to think of that. But I mean, could you elaborate a little bit on like what you might want to like? I guess being able to express your game in sort of this game allows you to do this sort of thing. This allows to shoot people in the face. I guess that's sort of a exciting goal, I guess. But it's I guess it's kind of hard to find that those sorts of things that other games don't already provide. So I guess it's, but I do think that having sort of like a tagline, well, not a tagline, but like a short description of your game that sort of explains why your game is cool, I think that is probably a good thing, especially for marketing purposes. So that is at least a pretty good point. And I think that's all I have to say. I think I should get a haircut. What do you think?